What if I told you there was a world that exists in a hidden realm, invisible to most viewers? What if I told you that this invisible world is more massive than the world you see every day and traveled more often by more people? I'm sure your first thought may be that I'm speaking straight lunacy. I do admit my claim does sound crazy, but I assure you this dark world does exist.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Search. Today we're going to pull back the curtain a little bit on a hidden world that exists right next to our normal everyday. We're going to shine a little light on the dark web.
This is the world we all know and love, an orderly, safe place to live. For the purposes of this episode's inquiry, this Earth will represent the World Wide Web. 40% of the human population of this world use the internet every day, a staggering climb from the 1% that had access back in the 1990s. Even though around 3 billion people traverse this World Wide Web every day, a world consisting of websites that are indexed into Google and Bing and other search engines, it's real easy just to get on the web and search for what you want and find the websites you're looking for. However, there is a dark web that lives right alongside this clean public web, and that web is much, much larger than the clean web we all know and love. This larger web is hidden. It is not indexed in any search engine, and the websites cannot be found through any search. And just so you guys know, this animation is to scale accurate based on the best predictions for the size difference between the clean web and the dark web. Although everyone freely admits it is hard to get the size for the dark web due to its hidden nature. Just to put the amount of information crossing through the lines that crisscross all over the globe in perspective, we'll use this animation. This will represent all of the information in the U.S. Library of Congress. Now, an exabyte is a multiple of the unit byte for digital information, or an exabyte is 1 quintillion bytes. Or, we'll say, the old Nintendo system from the 80s was an 8-bit machine, or a byte machine, as 8 bits equals 1 byte. So an exabyte is a quintillion Nintendo systems from the 80s. So that is 1 exabyte. Our Library of Congress is estimated to hold at max about 20 petabytes of information, meaning 1 exabyte at the Library of Congress's best is 500 times the size of all content in the U.S. Library of Congress. So how much information is on the web? The Cisco Visual Networking Index, which keeps up with the amount of internet traffic, states that by the end of 2016, traffic will be over 1 zettabyte per year. A zettabyte is 1,000 exabytes. So in 1 year, we're looking at 500,000 U.S. Libraries of Congress traveling the World Wide Web. Before you get too excited about the human advances in information technology and data storage, think about this. A gram of DNA can theoretically hold 455 exabytes of data. So nature really has us beat pretty soundly. Anyway, moving on. So, what is the dark web? Out of all of the information traveling along the lines all around the world, most of it is a website of some sort, and these websites are indexed or registered, if you will. Once a website is indexed, then you can find it when searching in your search engine. Google, Bing, or Yahoo searches will find the websites when you search for certain keywords. The dark web is made up of websites that cannot be found on a search. They are hidden on purpose by their creators in the dark web or dark network. Within the dark web, there is anonymity. You won't be indexed. You won't be found by advertising companies or tyrannical governments. This is useful when you need information to be passed secretly, such as black ops messages and freedom fighters in oppressed governments. And yes, useful for criminals and psychopaths as well.
The darknet began in the mid-90s, or right after the public net really began to get steam with the public and started getting pretty popular. They needed a way to cloak data packets as they traveled on the network, so they could have one asset here and another asset here. They could talk to each other with hidden data packets, hidden transmissions from the entry point to the exit point. And when I say they, of course, I mean the military. It was funded and created by the Naval Research Laboratory, and also DARPA had some funding going on in there as well. But they did not create it as a public way for public privacy. They actually created it just so their assets could talk to each other. The problem was, if you were an asset and someone found the data packet going through, even though they might not know what it said, they knew it came from a spy to another spy, or a black ops agent to another black ops agent. So how they took care of that was they just released what they called onion routing into a browser system to the public. So now the public could use it, everyone could use it, and everyone was on there anonymous using this system, but their assets were in that cloud of information too. So their assets could still get their data from point A to point B, only now it was hidden in a cloud of people creating their own websites and other things, other transmissions all along the lines. And of course it wasn't created for that. It wasn't created for public privacy. It was created just for military use, and the creators, they freely admit that.
We live in the age of information, and data mining is going on online all the time. Every time you log in to any website, your IP address tells everyone what you're doing, where you're doing it from, and you're tracked by cookies almost daily from companies looking to sell you something. So how is it that the Onion router, better known as Tor, can possibly keep people anonymous online anyway? So here we are at your PC, and you're sitting down to visit your favorite website. The brightly colored block on the left, that's the data packet that's leaving your computer. Normally, that data packet would travel to your ISP, your internet service provider, and out to the World Wide Web to find the destination servers that contain your favorite website. And then it would travel back to your computer, and that's how you visit the website. However, when you use Tor, the Onion router, it will route your data packet to another computer. And when it leaves that computer, it'll have the IP address, the Internet Protocol address for that computer. It'll leave that computer and go to another computer. And when it leaves it, it gets another IP address. It'll leave that one and go to yet another computer somewhere in the world, and when it leaves that, it gets another Internet Protocol address. And then it travels to the destination servers, and then back to your computer through the same routing. And what that does is give you a false Internet Protocol address, a false IP address, that shows you to be somewhere in the world that you're not. And therefore you can visit your favorite websites anonymously without being traced. And yet there is another service that Tor provides. The data packet that's leaving your PC is encrypted. So when it leaves your PC and goes to the first computer somewhere in the world and gets that anonymous IP address for it, it is encrypted. But one level of the encryption is decrypted at that computer. So when it leaves the first computer and goes to the second computer, another level of encryption is decrypted. And then when it leaves the second computer and goes to the third computer, another level of encryption is decrypted. So then when it leaves that final computer having the false IP address, it goes out to the destination servers unencrypted. And then it leaves the destination servers and comes back to you along the same lines. The levels of encryption are why it's called an onion router, because of the layers of encryption. So Tor was created so messages from military intelligence assets could pass anonymously through the network. Then it was released to the public to mask the military assets, kind of like a magician's shell game. What the public did with the technology became known as the dark net. Once Tor was released to the public began creating websites and routing them through Tor to hide their activity and use. These websites range from simple anonymous information sharing sites to sites for Hitman services, for drug trafficking and weapons trafficking sites, and to sites dedicated to the truly darkest and sickest minds on the planet. This anonymous internet is what became known as the dark web. By this point, you may be saying to yourself, okay, I got it. There's a hidden web out there, and people use it to hide their identity and activity on the network. So, how would anyone be able to use this darknet? There are actually multiple darknets out there, but since we have been talking about Tor, the onion router, we'll continue to talk about the onion network. As mentioned previously, the Tor browser has been made accessible to the general public on purpose by the Naval Research Laboratory. The more people using the network, the more anonymous the users on the network become. So to make it open and easy for the public, the U.S. government financed the creation of the Tor Browser Bundle. The Tor Bundle is not only easy for the general public to use, but also easy to get and free as well. Released by the Naval Research Laboratory under a completely free license, as of course they want as many users as possible. The Tor bundle runs on a browser very similar to the Firefox browser, and once you visit torproject.org and simply download the browser, you are pretty much ready to be anonymous. Once you download it, you can actually surf the clean web with it as well. And if you go to regular, say, yahoo.com, you may notice your homepage for Yahoo is actually in France or Germany or Russia, or it's going to be somewhere in the world that you are not. There are some warnings that I feel I need to tell you guys at this point. The dark web is not a safe place to browse, at least not as safe as the public clean indexed web is. It is not illegal to browse the dark web, but there are a lot of viruses floating around on the dark web and a great deal of illegal activities that are going on the dark web as well. While Tor can hide your IP address and help you surf anonymously, the dark web is full of expert hackers and virus programs and spyware that isn't indexed by virus protection programs. I advise the purchase of a cheap laptop if you would like to surf the dark web for research. Download the Tor browser bundle and then erase the normal browser from the laptop. Even mark the laptop so no one uses it. I wouldn't advise logging into your bank account or any account really on your Tor laptop. Read the warnings and how-to instructions on the Tor project website as well. Simple things like using your browser in a minimized state instead of full screen can help keep you anonymous online, and there are many more tips for use as well. The darknet websites are not simple .coms. Actually, through Tor, they are .onions. To get you started on the darknet, this is the address to the Hidden Wiki. The Hidden Wiki has links to many darknet sites. Some have been shut down by the FBI, and some are still active. Surfing the darknet can be rough due to the nature of not being indexed for searches. While there are many hidden websites out there, they can be hard to find, and honestly, most of them you don't want to find anyway. The darknet is full of criminal activity, as the creators of Tor admitted they knew would happen. After all, who would want anonymity more than people who are doing illegal activities? As you can see by this chart, the most famous criminal enterprises are all over the darknet. There's pornography, followed by drug and weapons trafficking. There are even websites to hire hitmen, websites that link to anonymous email accounts for these type of people to send contracts and receive payments. Speaking of payment, these criminal activities are made possible by the creation of an anonymous monetary system. It's called Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is a currency purchased with real money, then tumbled through a software that hides who purchased it and how they spend it, for a fee, of course. Bitcoin is now so widely used that it is traded on Wall Street. To give you guys a couple of examples of how dark the darknet can get, I'll talk about two crazy sites that once existed and possibly still do, just with new addresses. One is a Hitman website where a person would anonymously enter someone in for assassination, then other people would anonymously donate to the assassination contract until enough money was raised for an assassin to actually take the contract. Many of these contracts are rumored to be known to have been completed before the FBI shut down the site. On a side note, I'll say there have been reviews and studies on the Hitman websites, and as far as anyone can tell, they're actually just used to milk people of money with no actual assassinations taking place. But who knows? Another example is a sex trafficking website that would sell sex slaves to people. I'm not going to go into detail too much about this site because it is pretty gruesome, but it did have to do with kidnapping people and selling them into the sex slave trade, and sometimes they were actually shipped to buyers through freight shipping. Verifying these sites is impossible, as if they did exist, this is all you would see now. But the reports are all over Reddit forums, and there are many YouTubers searching the dark web who report equally sick sites. Just remember one rule: while you're searching, some things once seen cannot be unseen. With so much sickness out there, remember there are good things that the anonymous network is used for. Many people in tyrannical countries have used the network to reveal the action of dictators. The anonymous network, while making room for criminal activity, also makes room for criminal activity to be revealed. Groups such as WikiLeaks and Anonymous use the network to reveal criminal activity from governments without fear of prosecution. So to say it one more time, it is not illegal to search the dark web, but be safe doing it. Read the Tor guidelines. There are many great and interesting sites on the dark web as long as you surf it safely. Once seen, some things cannot be unseen. Just remember that rule while you're surfing.
For many of you out there, this may be the first time you've ever heard of the dark web. And it does have some scary things going on out there, but it also has some positive things going on as well, with WikiLeaks and Anonymous leaking information that tyrannical leaders are doing around the world. It does provide some anonymity to those people, so they're safe to actually leak that information out to the rest of the world. So it does have positives along with the negatives. Even though it does look like the negatives, they do show to outweigh the positives. It still is a good tool to keep your anonymity online with. Now, what the show is about is the mysteries in life, so if you haven't heard about it, I'm kind of glad it may bring new information to you, something you may not have ever heard about, and that's what we're trying to do. But if you did like the episode, please hit the subscribe and the like button, just so you don't miss the next episode. And we're definitely glad you joined us, and hope to see you next time.